Yo, yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new week and welcome to a brand new edition of what we call the Shifting the Culture podcast, where we talk about the different artists and events that have impacted this culture we know and love as hip hop, as well as the ones that continue to do so to this very day. I am your host, the vegan you believe in, Conscious Kurt, in the flesh as always, and my co-host, he needs no introduction, but the hell with it, he's gonna give y'all one anyway. Break it down for us.
Yo, what up, world? This is King Khan live and direct. Once again, back for another week. A lot of shit has been going on the last few weeks in hip hop, so can't wait to get started. So there's a lot going on right now. But before we get into that, what you been up to this week, man? How's everything going?
Well, basically, me, I've just been working a lot this week and writing a lot of music. I was doing that battle, like I talked about in last week's episode with my best friends. I was doing that with them. And then I
Okay.
also wrote a verse yesterday to promote my podcast for the birds. And yeah, just developing the formats for my other podcast coming up this week, which is going to be my other podcast, Clash of Champions, which I'm going to record tomorrow. And also an episode of For the Birds this week that I'm actually going to have one of my best friends who I've been doing the battle with is one of the guests on the show. And the episode's actually going to talk about Christmas commercialism. And it's going to be interesting because I'm gonna come from it from the perspective of someone who grew up like celebrating Christmas and like being all into the commercialism of it and whatnot, and he's gonna bring it from the perspective of not growing up in that shit and like not really being able to relate to it the same way that I can. So that's why we're gonna have a kind of discussion about like the goods and bads of the commercialism with Christmas, and also what I touched on last week about still enjoying it and still appreciating it even with that commercialism aside. So that's kind of what the episode's gonna be centered on.
Okay. Sounds like a pretty interesting episode. So yeah, definitely check it out once it drops.
Yeah, I'll never forgive him for ruining my Kobe tribute on an episode we did of our other podcast, Spark It Up, several years ago. I'm trying to do, it was like the anniversary of when Kobe died. I'm trying to do this nice little tribute. And then, like, right after of me talking about it, he says, Yo, I don't mean to be an asshole, but honestly, I didn't really care that much when he died. It didn't really bother me that much.
Wow. Wow, son. So
He didn't mean it in a bad way. He just meant it in the sense that, like, he doesn't really follow celebrities like that and, like, worship them like that, where if one of them dies, if one of them passes away, that, like, his heart stops or he starts crying or anything like that. Yeah, he doesn't have that same connection with that kind of stuff like the average person does.
yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I feel. I don't know how people do, get so wrapped up with celebrities' lives and gossip and what they're doing, who they're dating, and all that. So I get it, but as far as like a figure like Kobe, he did mean a lot to the culture and also to basketball and sports. So it definitely struck a nerve when he passed away, at least to me. So but it's not for everybody. Everybody's not into what we're into. So I can understand that, but at the same time, I still respect the people who passed away and what people are going through. So gotta show some empathy and compassion for that.
Yeah, it hit me hard also, especially considering the way that it happened.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that day like it was yesterday. I remember where I was. I was at my cousin's graduation. She was graduating nursing school, and I remember in between, the graduation, everybody got the news that Kobe had passed away, and that shit kind of sounded like it was like this shit sounded like it was fake. Like I didn't want to believe it because like the night before he was at the game and LeBron had like broke his record or
No,
whatever,
he wasn't at
passed
the
him like in
game.
all
He
time points or
he
whatever.
wasn't at the game. He tweeted about LeBron surpassing him on the scoring list, but he wasn't at the game.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. He had posted something like a few hours earlier, giving props to LeBron for for a big milestone accomplishment, and then next thing you know, it says Kobe Bryant passes away in an airplane accident. I mean, not an airplane, in a helicopter accident, which was wild. So, yeah, I remember where I was that day and that time, and it was just sad that years later that I definitely didn't want to believe it at that time, but now that it's sunk in, like I still can't believe that he's not here anymore. It kind of feels kind of weird.
Yeah, because honestly, like as someone who's watched wrestling for years, I've seen it happen with wrestling all too often, but it was like rare to ever see it happen with basketball, and especially in a way like this. It really shook me up when it happened. Like I know I didn't know the guy, I never met him, I get that, but when you follow something like we follow basketball so passionately and like feel so passionately about it, when something like this happens where like somebody you grew up watching and kind of in a sense grew up with like dies so suddenly, it does hit you hard. Like, and in some ways it kind of feels like when that person dies, it almost feels like losing a family member.
Yeah, and it was not only that Kobe passed away; it was that all the other people who lost their lives, and even his daughter
Yes, that's
on
true
that
too.
same
Yeah, that's
crash.
true
So
too.
that was just the sad, that made it like that magnified it and made it, 100 times worse. So RIP to Kobe and everybody who lost their lives and on that tragic day, what was like 3 or 4 years ago
It's going
now?
to be 4 years next month.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, RIP to them. I know it's not easy, especially during the holidays. You got this anniversary coming up. So, much love to their family, and hopefully they could find some kind of comfort. But it's a tough situation to kind of, to deal with that tragedy.
Amen to that. But I get it from my best friend's perspective of not, worshiping these people when you don't even know them. And the one thing he actually did call me out on was mentioning more of the fact that there were 7 other people that did die on that helicopter crash besides Kobe and his daughter. And yeah, that's definitely
Yeah.
a fair point where, like, you should say, like, it's not just the anniversary of when Kobe died, it's the anniversary of when the tragic helicopter accident happened that killed 9 people, including Kobe Bryant and his daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a sad day, but trying to spin more positive. Anything positive you got going on? Or I know, when is your trip coming up? When are you actually heading out to NY?
I leave December 29th, but I'm flying into Newark, New Jersey. I'm not flying into NY or LaGuardia.
Oh, okay. So that should be a good time.
I've actually never flown into that airport before.
Yeah, me either. I don't even think I've been to that airport. Now that I think about it.
I've been to Newark before, but I've never actually been to the airport before, flown into it.
All right, so it should be fun. Hopefully, we have a fun, safe trip. Me this weekend, I've been kind of busy, man. It's been a rough week. Had a basketball game yesterday for my son. He had his AAU game, so that was pretty dope. Got the W, and now we're gonna have like a little 3-week break for the Christmas time, so everybody can have some time to kind of recharge and kind of replenish their energy, because yeah, it's been a lot going on with work, then taking them to practice and then games. So it's just been a lot going on. So kind of looking forward to this break, kind of like recharge and get my mind right and get ready for the new year. So that's the type of time that I'm on right now.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I leave for my trip December 29th, and yeah, I can't wait. It's been so long since I've been like in the New York, New Jersey area for the holidays. And yeah, for this time of the year, so I'm super fucking hyped for it. I know it's gonna be cold as fuck, and I'm gonna be suffering in certain parts of it, but I don't give a shit. It's gonna be fun anyway.
How cold is it supposed to be up there? When you're gonna be up there?
Remember when we were there about 6 years ago for Grandma's funeral?
Yeah, I think it was like in the 20s or some shit like that.
It's gonna be some shit like that, if not worse.
Yeah, make sure you get your thermal, your jacket, all that good stuff, because yeah, you're definitely gonna need it if you're gonna be outside, out and about.
Yeah, it's gonna be a different vibe for my trip there over the summer. Yeah, it's not gonna be the same type of trip, but I'm still gonna make the most of it. Gonna eat a lot of good ass vegan food, try some new drinks because they're getting their bar set up at that restaurant, meet a lot of cool people. Yeah, explore, have a good time, and also go to lots and lots of dispensaries too.
All right, you're gonna get a chance to see some fam while you're out there.
Definitely, I will definitely do that. I just hope it turns out better this time than it did last time.
Oh yeah, anytime you have family get together, it's good. It's good to see everybody, but sometimes the family drama kind of overshadows, the good time. So hopefully
Yeah,
none of that stuff is going on.
yeah, definitely. I hate to say it, like you said, it was great to see everybody over the summer, but damn, was there a lot of negative energy around? Holy shit, was there a lot of it around?
Yeah, but it wouldn't be family without any drama. So gotta love it. Gotta love the good with the bad.
Yeah, I almost envied Tracy because she was like in Spain at the time.
Oh yeah, you didn't get to see her. Well, hopefully you get to see her this time.
No, I envied her because she was probably having more fun than we did.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, she was having a good ass vacation while we were sitting there arguing with family and shit. So
And driving
yeah,
to Connecticut and driving to Connecticut and just driving around, going to different places and like getting stuck in traffic.
yeah, that wasn't a highlight of the trip, but nonetheless.
Hell no, hell motherfucking no.
But yeah, let's get into it.
All right, so yeah, our top story for today. Nicki Minaj recently posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, whatever you prefer calling it, talking about how Billboard plans on disqualifying 100,000 sales from her new album Pink Friday 2 because she did a promotion where she encouraged people to buy like 4 copies of the album a piece. And because she did that kind of promotion, Billboard's considering it as cheating, so they're taking 100,000 of the sales away or about to. So yeah, she's coming for them, and she's basically also saying that the reason why they're doing this to her is because She refused to sign a 360 deal. She also said that they're coming after her because she makes great music and because she also has great fans. And lastly, because she stayed in the game so long and refuses to leave, and because she has stayed in the game, they can't replace her with somebody else who agreed to sign a 360 deal, so they could like make that person look like a bigger deal than Nicki Minaj is. But yeah, so that's how this is all going down. This is how this is all looking. And King Khan, what are your thoughts about it?
I know Nicki Minaj has been kind of complaining about Billboard and how they calculate sales, and she feels like the industry's against her and whatnot over the last few years. So I don't know what to believe. What's what. All I know is that Nicki Minaj is one of the best artists. One of the definitely one of up there as far as female artists. And for her to just be complaining about sales and this and that, like who cares, yo? She's already established. She already got money. She's already won mad awards. Like, what are you complaining about sales for? Like, first week sales don't even matter. But I guess to her, in her eyes, she wants to be number one and wants to like rub it in like the other female artists, face like Cardi B and the other female rappers. Like I know Meg Thee Stallion and Lotto and all of them. She's been going back and forth with. So I think it's part of that kind of like to show that she's like the best and she wants to show that she's the dominant force for female rappers. But at the same time, like she's bigger than this. Like she's the elder statesman. She's been in the game for a long time. She's broken hella records. The new album is pretty dope. Like, what? Why are you worrying about like what the Billboard, got going on? I just that part I don't understand for an artist as big as she is. Like, why does it really matter? She's still getting money at the end of the day, so it's not like you're gonna lose out money, even if they're not gonna calculate it towards Billboard sales. But at the end of the day, people are still fucking with her music, and she's still, one of the best artists. So like, why does it matter? Like, it feels kind of petty, and it feels like it's kind of beneath her, especially the status and where she's at in the game. So interesting to see what you feel about it.
It's kind of whack for Billboard to take away 100,000 of the sales, like if they already happened, even if it happened under those circumstances. But it just seems overall like Nicki Minaj just always needs a reason to be upset about something or be upset at someone or be pissed off at someone. So like this kind of situation right here, and also considering the things she was saying about why they're doing this to her, it like plays into the thing of like her always being the one who's done wrong and always being the one who everybody's after and out to get. I guess it always feels like she's the victim in every single last situation she's
Yeah.
in, and this like situation just plays into that like many others have.
Even if it's legit, like after a while, like I don't want to hear like her complaining about they're taking sales away, whatever, whatever. Like like it doesn't really matter. At least to me, maybe to her and her team, maybe they have certain goals that they're looking for. But the way like it's kind of confusing today how they calculate these sales, how they have bundles and people selling merch, and they kind of include that in album sales. At least when I was growing up, when a CD came out or a tape came out, it would be based on how many physical copies that you sold, like how many actual CDs that you sold. Now it's different with the streaming age, and I don't even know if people sell, or I'm sorry, I don't even know if people still buy CDs or physical copies of albums anymore like they used to. I know they don't like they used to, but I don't even know if there's a market for that where people are still buying physical copies of albums unless they're buying it as a collector's item. It should be more cut and dry as far as how sales are calculated moving forward, because we're in a new age. We're in a streaming age where, for the most part, people subscribe to like Spotify or Apple Music, and then they go and get their music from there rather than going to like the store to actually buy a physical copy of an album. So I just feel like times are different, and it should be more transparent as far as how sales are being calculated and how Billboard is using those sales to kind of like come up with the rankings and the charts. So that's kind of like where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I kind of stopped paying attention to sales and like how many units they move and whatnot years ago. Like pretty much ever since like CDs stopped being a thing and all that, and music videos stopped being a thing, I stopped paying attention to like those kind of metrics. I mean, it's cool if somebody sells a lot. It's cool if somebody like breaks all these crazy records and all that. But yeah, like I haven't really paid attention to that stuff in years. But looks like apparently Nicki Minaj still pays attention to that stuff, so that's why she's as upset about this as she is. And hey, I get it to a degree, I get it, but it just plays into that narrative of her always needing a reason to be pissed off about something.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just not a good look for her. Like she's bigger than that, like I said. But yeah, as far as like first week sales, like I don't feel like we said this in one of the past episodes. Like first week sales don't really, or sales in general, don't really determine if an album is hot or not. I feel like if you're gonna make an album or you're gonna put some project out, it should be more about the music and how it impacts people, not about the sales. Like, because the sales don't really, just because you sell a certain amount doesn't mean that the album is great, and just because you don't sell a lot doesn't mean that the album is not a classic album. So you can't really equate sales to if a album is great or not. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I get it. But Nicki Minaj was also on Cenat's Twitch live stream a couple days ago promoting the album. And one person who was not very happy about Nicki Minaj making this appearance is hip hop journalist Elliot Wilson, who showed how pissed off he was about this by sharing a brief clip from that Twitch live stream of Nicki Minaj twerking and using the caption for it, hip hop journalism.
Yo, that was funny.
Kind of kind of insinuating that like, yo, this is a joke, this is bullshit. You like this is what you really refuse to be on my show for. Yeah, because apparently he wasn't booked to have her on his show, so she ended up being on that
Yeah.
show. So in a way, it looked like he was kind of salty about it. So that's how he went about expressing that saltiness. And Nicki Minaj, no surprise, had a response for him. And basically, what you told him is that if you can get Jay-Z's dick out of your mouth for a second, you could actually be happy for new rappers coming up.
Yeah, so Elliot Wilson, he's looking like a hater. The last year, he's been looking like a real hater, yo. He's gotten into it with Drake when Drake dropped his album. He kind of caught feelings because Drake did a interview with that girl that does like that dry humor. I forgot her name right now, but he did that interview with that girl sitting in the bed, and it was kind of awkward. So he did that interview, and then so he got into it with Drake back then, and then now he's getting into it with Nicki Minaj because she chose to go on a different platform rather than the traditional hip hop journalist like a Drink Champs, Elliot Wilson, or one of those type of platforms where people from the culture can ask questions and have a real in depth interview. Well, Nicki Minaj has done a Joe Budden interview, from my understanding, that just hasn't come out yet. So that should be in the works. But it just comes off as for Elliot Wilson, just comes off as he's just being a hater, and he's not appreciating where we at in the day and age. Like Cenat is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, YouTube streamers on Twitch, where he gets a lot of engagement and he gets a lot of people to chime into his streams. And this is where people are going to. So when you're promoting an album, you're going to hit up the places where you're going to get the most engagement, or where you can spread, the awareness of your album the most. And just Kai Cenat's platform right now is one of the best platforms to do so. Even Offset did this right before his album came out a couple of months ago. So, and it worked. It worked for him. We got him. We got people talking about his album. Got people who are in the younger audience to know about Offset. So I kind of feel like that's the same thing to what Nicki Minaj is doing. And I understand Elliot Wilson's point of view as well. Is he's a traditional journalist. He came from the Double XL, and he's started Rap Radar, and he's done countless of classic interviews with some of the biggest artists in the game. So he's definitely respected, and he's done a lot for the culture. But at the same time, it's a new day and age, and you have to embrace the new up and coming. I wouldn't call Kai Cenat like a journalist, but you got to appreciate the new up and coming platforms and appreciate what they are. It's not, times change, things evolve, and we're just in a new day and age where everything is streaming and everything is online. It's not like how things used to be. Yeah, there's going to be a time and a place where maybe she wants to sit down and have an in-depth interview or a more personal interview, but she felt like at this point she didn't feel like Elliot Wilson was the right person to do that with. And she's done interviews with Elliot Wilson in the past. So it's not like she's never sat down with him. She just felt like this time this was just a better route. And I can't blame her, because if you look at the engagement and what's going on online, everybody's been talking about her appearing on Kai Cenat's show, and everybody's been talking about her album since it's dropped. So Nicki is doing smart and is helping her market her album. And I don't see the problem with it from her perspective. But at the same time, from Elliot Wilson's perspective, I understand he feels like the traditional journalism of hip hop is going out the window, and he kind of wants to get back to that. I get that, but I feel like he shouldn't be hating. He's bigger than that, and shouldn't come about it in this manner. He should just find a way to kind of embrace the new wave and to try to adapt and rather than calling people out, because then he sounds like some of those old gatekeepers of hip hop who are talking shit about like the younger generation and not embracing them, which is going to cause like a kind of like a conflict between the younger and the old generation instead of bringing them together. So yeah, that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, Nicki Minaj even called him out on it, saying how what he did to Kai Cenat with that post is basically no better than what he accuses her of doing with like holding back the other girl rappers and trying to step over the other girl rappers. Like that's exactly what he's doing in that scenario, journalism wise. And she ended the quote by saying, "Fuck you, ho nigga."
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty funny. They're back and forth, and yeah, she went on live and yeah, and went in on him, and I think she might have put a couple of tweets out against him as well. So I don't know, man. It just makes Elliot Wilson not look good, and I feel like he's bigger than that. I did see him post something yesterday that he was apologizing and he
He
was
did.
giving
He
props to
did.
Kai Cenat.
He
Yeah,
did.
so shouts out for him because I'm pretty sure somebody was beat out or somebody was getting in his ear and telling him like, "Yo, you need to fix this or you need to come correct and apologize." So I'm glad he at least did that, and hopefully it's the last time that he has and he comes out and has an outlash against like some of the newer generation and the new platforms.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, it doesn't have to be your cup of tea. I get it. But even if it's not your cup of tea, you don't have to put a post like that shitting on it.
Yeah, he was just retweeting everything. He was retweeting everything she posted, and that whole interview with Kai Cenat. Like, it wasn't really an interview. It was just like she was going on his show pretty much and just having fun, having a good time, listening to her music and dancing. That's pretty much all it was. I don't look at it as like an interview or anything like that. But either way, he just it comes off as a hater, as giving hater.
Yeah, bees like that. I think she was also calling out DJ Envy again too.
Yeah, because he blackballed her. Like he didn't. Well, not really blackballed her. He didn't. He wouldn't play any of her music on the Breakfast Club because of some issue that she had with DJ Self, and I guess he was taking his side
Yeah,
and decided
yeah,
not to,
yeah. I heard about that issue where like
place it on the
DJ
record.
Self said that he liked Cardi B's album more than Nicki's, or like he didn't like Nicki's album, like just saying that he didn't like it. And Nicki apparently sent her goons out to go beat him up at the studio.
Yeah, I heard about that. So
Yeah, that's mad whack, yo. That's mad whack. Just because he didn't like it.
there has to be a space where people can critique your art and say if it's good or bad or give their opinion with it, as long as they're not coming at you in a negative way and calling you out your name or talking crap about you and your family, your kids and things like that, then I don't understand why we can't have opinions on albums without people catching feelings anymore. Like I don't know. I don't understand, man. I feel like people are mad soft these days where you say you have a critique about something that you don't like about the album. Look, yo, I just don't like this song. I'm not feeling it. And all of a sudden they're sending goons to come, find you. Like, I just don't get it, man. There has to be a space where journalists and also people in the media, podcasters can talk freely about their opinions on certain projects, as long as they're not coming at you on a personal level, like, and it's about the art itself. Like, why does it matter? Like, why can't you take an opinion unless like you're just insecure about what they said? Like, that's just how it comes off as.
Yeah, as an artist, you have to understand whether you're putting out a movie, whether you're putting out an album, whether you're doing a Broadway play, not everybody is going to like it. It may have
Exactly.
more people liking it than not liking it, but you have to understand it's not going to be for everybody. And you can't force it to be for everybody and get upset and up in arms when some people just aren't feeling it. It's going to happen. It comes with the motherfucking territory.
Yeah, it just doesn't look good for you. Like if somebody critiques your album and then you're sending goons to come after them, and then I can understand why DJ Envy, took DJ Self's side, because they're in the same boat. They do the same thing, and as DJs, they got to stick together. And if they're not feeling the track, they're not feeling it, or if they're feeling another album more than yours, that's their opinion. It is what it is. Like, you just can't catch feelings over something. Just go back in the studio and try to come up with a better project. That's it. That's all you can really do.
Or just don't care so much what they think. If like a million people like your album and one person doesn't, you're going to get all upset just because that one person didn't like it. Why are you going to give them that much attention?
Yeah, you're selling millions and millions of records, so obviously you do have a fan base that's fucking with you. So why does it matter if like one or two people are not? Like, it's not a big deal. Like, you still have a hardcore following. Like, she has one of the biggest followings on social media, the Barb's. So like, why does it matter, yo? if one person says something, yo, I ain't feeling this album.
Yeah, it just seems like she has a real chip on her shoulder. And I'm not saying that she doesn't have a reason to in some cases, but it just feels like I said a few minutes ago, she always has to get pissed off at someone. She always needs a reason to be pissed off at someone, have beef with someone. And yeah, it just doesn't make her look good. It does not make her look good. I hate to say it, but and I say this as someone who likes her music, but yeah, like just that behavior is a turnoff.
Yeah, it makes you not want to, like her as a person. You can like the music, but just the attitude is just not a good look for her. And like I said, she's bigger than that. She doesn't need to do that. And like she's still making millions and millions of dollars. Like, why does it matter if a couple people don't fuck with your album or are not messing with it? Like, just keep it moving, and just do better on the next album. That's it. That's all you can do.
Yeah,
You're not gonna please everybody.
yeah, you can't be that sensitive. No matter what you're doing, you cannot be that sensitive. It's not healthy, and you just don't come off well behaving that way.
Yeah, and I do get it. Like that chip that you mentioned, that having a chip on her shoulder, that kind of has helped her get to where she's at in the game right now is one of the best ever.
And it is
So
different,
I get that you kind of
and
have
it
to
is a
have
different
a
ball game for females too. The females definitely have it a lot harder. You gotta also
yeah, yeah.
understand that.
So yeah, I understand it. I understand that part of it, but at the same time, once you reach a certain point, you got to tone that down and understand what's going on and look at the bigger picture, not just like one or two people who are not agreeing what your album is like, or not agreeing with how it is. So
Yeah, and also the beef she's been in with like multiple people over the years, from like Cardi B, Mariah Carey when they hosted American Idol together. Yeah, just so many different people she's had issues with and falling out with. DJ Envy being another example. It's like I'm not saying all of them are her fault and that she's responsible for all of them, but considering that it's happened so often and so many times, she does bear a little responsibility in that.
yeah, definitely. So hopefully she learns from this. Hopefully, it's the last time she has any outbursts like this, or going back and forth. But just focus on
Yeah.
the music, focus on your family, and just keep it moving.
And I also hope she doesn't send any goons for us if she hears this.
Yeah, exactly. So
I,
got tread lightly.
Hey, but it's the truth though. What we're saying is the truth. We're not talking about her son, we're not talking about her husband or her personal life, but we're talking about things that we see and that the public sees. And if it's out in the public has the right to comment on it if you make it public.
Exactly. It's fair game. So it is what it is.
All right, and also
Like it or not, hate it or love it.
And also another Nicki Minaj story that's been getting a lot of attention the last few days is the fact that she did not clear the song "New Body" for Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign's new album "Vultures" that was actually supposed to come out Friday, but due to that and some possible other reasons, the album's release date has been pushed back. And Nicki Minaj touched on this with with an Instagram live where she was asked about it, and she basically responded by saying that train has left the station, and she also went on to say she just released a new album. So what kind of sense would it make for me to clear a song that was like supposed to come out 5 years ago and that never came out? So what sense would it make for me to clear something like that to come out now when it's old and I have something new now? So that was her reason for it. But Kanye West was not very happy about this, and he also opened up about it, saying how like he forced her to rewrite her verse for Monster 3 times, and he like helped her career. He was always about like helping her get to that next level, and he can't understand why she's acting like this and pulling this shit.
I don't blame Nicki Minaj. Like, yo, the song is 5 years old. That's one thing. It was leaked online, so everybody's already heard the song already for the most part. And another thing is that she just dropped a successful album, and everybody is talking about her one way or the other. And there's a lot of buzz going around Nicki Minaj right now. So why would she release an old song to put it on Kanye's album when when Kanye drops an album, everything is all about Kanye because he's gonna do something controversial like a rant, or he's gonna do something as far as the release of the album to make people or to make everything all about Kanye and make everybody gravitate to Kanye. So I understand Nicki Minaj's side of it where like, yo, I just dropped an album. This song is mad old. Why am I going to clear this song? And then he's going to drop this album week after mine. And then everybody's going to be on Kanye's dick. And then they're going to forget about Nicki's album. You know what I mean? So I kind of understand that part. And like, I understand Kanye hasn't learned from the past albums. Like when he did that run with Nas and Pusha T and Tiana Taylor Kid Cudi, when he dropped like an album every week for like a month, he dropped the album. And then like I feel like every single album, it's like at the last minute is gonna be a release date, and then he's rushing to clear songs, or he's switching songs or recording new verses. So I feel like I don't know why Kanye takes this approach. I understand he's a musical genius, and I appreciate everything he's done for the culture. But at the same time, when you're dropping an album, it should be properly planned out. You should already have the clearances before you even start putting out a release date. Because now, with Kanye, what the thing is, when he puts out a release date, like nobody believes it anymore. Like people expected Vultures to drop Friday, and it's what a few days later, and the album still hasn't dropped, and he hasn't said anything about it. So who knows when the album's gonna officially drop? So I don't know, man. Anytime Kanye puts out a release date, I take it with a grain of salt. If it comes out, it does. If it's not, whatever, and I'll listen to it when it's out and people can hear it. But at the same time, yo, I don't know, man. With Kanye, I felt like he would have learned by now about releasing albums in this manner.
Yeah, I get it. And the way you described it, yeah, it makes perfect sense from Nicki Minaj's perspective, where if the song came out on Kanye's album, they'd be talking about Kanye's shit and not hers and forgetting about hers. So yeah, I get that business wise. And yeah, this has happened a few times. This has happened a couple of times with Kanye's releases. But I'll be honest, I haven't really been big on Kanye's music for like the last decade, I'd say. Ever since Yeezus going forward, with the exception of A Life of Pablo, yeah, I haven't really been big on his albums or just him, period.
Yeah, I don't feel like his albums are that bad. Like I forgot the name of the last one that came out with. There was I forgot the name. The one that came out like a couple years ago when he did the album release or listening party at the Mercedes Benz Stadium.
Yeah, even that one I wasn't feeling. Yeezus I wasn't feeling. And I remember like I think 5 years ago, he performed a few songs on SNL I wasn't crazy about. And then after the show went off the air, he cut a promo on the audience for not liking Trump. Yeah, just this last decade or so. And I'm not saying it's a reason why, but ever since I guess maybe he started dating Kim, it's just been not a good vibe for me with his music.
Yo, anybody who touches the Kardashian family, they turn into dust, yo. Like, I don't know. Every great person who messes with the Kardashian family, something happens to them, yo. They're never the same, yo. I can go down the list. Lamar Odom, the basketball player Humphreys,
Chris
that
Humphries.
Kardashian, Kim Kardashian. Yeah, Chris Humphreys. He was never in the NBA after that.
They were only married for 3 months too. They were only married for fucking 3 months.
Exactly, but he was a decent player. Like he was a respectable player in the league. Like he wasn't a scrub. And all of a sudden, like he just went away after that. Lamar Odom, Kanye's never been the same since he started fucking with that family. So like, I don't know what it is with that family. OJ, fucking Robert Kardashian, the dad, like everybody who's in that fucking family, fucking what's the dad's name that turned into a female? Chris Jenner. Chris Jenner. Look what happened to him. Like everybody who messes with that family, Black China. Like everybody who's not in that family that messes with that family, something happens to them, man.
I
I don't know what it is, but there's like a hex or there's something that happens anytime you fuck with that family. Like it's like when you're going. It's like that movie Space Jam. Like how the Monstars took their fucking powers of the basketball
oh
players. That's kind of
shit.
like what the fuck happens when you fuck with the Kardashians, yo. Tell me if I'm lying because there's fucking a track record and there's mad people who fuck with them and have never been the same. Tristan Thompson, another one.
Yeah, I even mentioned the Kardashians in that battle I was doing. I used it as a line against one of my friends where I said, Kurt is on a warpath. You don't want to test him. Falling off worse than Kanye when he met Kim.
Exactly. Like, yeah, man. I don't know. Everybody who messes with the Kardashians falls off.
And even on that show, The People versus OJ Simpson, that show about like yeah, the whole OJ trial and everything. The kid version of the Kardashians they had on there because yeah, Robert Kardashian was a big part of it, so they had the kid versions of the Kardashians on there. And even on that show, they came off as a bunch of brats and a bunch of annoying ass people.
Yeah, man. So I get it. They got a lot of money and they come from a legacy. But at the same time, I don't know what happens, man. But every man that's messed with that family, something happens to them. They're never the same after.
They just have an unlikableness to them. That's one thing I will say. I don't know them personally, but just the vibe I get from them, they just have a strong unlikableness to them. And I'm good with being around that kind of energy.
Yeah, I'm good. So I don't know, man. Like, yeah, like I said, like it matches up with the timeline. Once Kanye started messing with them, that's when I feel like his music wasn't the same, and he started having these outbursts, and he always had outbursts, but it's like another level. He's having like breakdowns on stage and like going nuts. So I don't know. It just started to me. It looks like it started with the Kardashians came into the picture.
And into more Kanye news regarding his album, he also didn't get permission from the Backstreet Boys to sample their song "Everybody," and also this may be another reason why the album is getting held back, because he performed the song recently, and then people found out about it, and that's why he may be getting in trouble for not getting the permission for it.
From what I heard though, it's he's able to get away with it because it's interpolation of the actual original track, so he doesn't
Oh
have to
yeah, I
get
did hear
like the
that too.
Backstreet
I did
Boys.
hear that also.
Yeah, he doesn't have to get approval from the Backstreet Boys, but the actual person who I guess put it together originally. So whoever the musician or producer was at that time. So I guess that's being worked out. But like that goes back to my other point. Like, yo, if the song is not cleared, why are you playing it at a listening party for your album? So then people are gonna get riled up. And I heard the song. The song sounds pretty dope. I like how you flipped the Backstreet Boys sample or whatever. But like, why are you gonna get people riled up and expecting this song to be on this album, and then for whatever reason, it's not gonna be able to get cleared so it can go on the album, and then now people are gonna be disappointed that they're expecting this track on there, and you can't even put it out. So I don't know. It just feels like he just does his fans wrong, and he does them dirty because he kind of leaves them high and dry. Like, yo, you're expecting the album to come out a certain day, or expecting a certain song to be on the album, and both things don't happen. The album doesn't come out, and that song is probably might not even be on the album when it does come out. So just not a good look for him and his fans.
It feels like Kanye is the album releasing version of Lauryn Hill. Well, Lauryn Hill sucks at showing up on time, and Kanye sucks at releasing albums on time.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't get it, man. I understand he's a genius and he's trying to do things, his way, but I don't know. Just it's not a good look for the way he's going about it, though. I wouldn't, if I was an artist, I wouldn't go about it in this particular way.
And also, most of all, the thing that probably stuck out most about the recent Kanye news was this rant that he went on, like during his release party in Miami. He went on this like long ass rant talking about how the French own the banks in Africa. Fuck the Dolce & Gabbana CEO. Fuck Gap. Fuck Adidas. Adidas is on some slavery shit. He was talking about how like Jay-Z needs to hear this. Drake needs to hear this. Travis Scott needs to hear this. He was going on this like crazy ass rant about how like we own everything. We don't need to answer to them. We don't need to bow to them. And he was talking about how his like daughter like has to rip the furniture and like throw a fit in order to spend time with him. And yeah, he was going off and off about all this crazy ass random shit. And look, I'm not saying that there isn't any truth to a lot of the things he's saying, because obviously he's been around a lot of these people and we haven't. So he probably has seen a lot of shit and heard a lot of shit. But just the way he comes off and his whole approach, it makes you focus more on his behavior and his belligerence than you actually focusing on what he's saying. Yeah, he may have some valid points and may have some things maybe you need to listen to, but just the way he brings the message gets it lost. Sad, but it keeps happening.
Well, that's the thing though. With this particular rant though, I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like this was somebody on his team or in his circle that recorded this rant that he was having a rant. Maybe he was talking to his people within his circle, and it was a personal conversation, and somebody leaked it to TMZ. I think that's what it was. I don't think it was something that was meant to get out there like that. I feel like somebody in his circle trying to take advantage, trying to get a quick buck, and use the situation to their advantage so they can make a come up. Yeah, I don't know what's true, what's not true, based on what Kanye's saying. All I can do is listen to what he says, and I can't deny it and I can't accept it either way. All I can just listen to what he says and take it with a grain of salt. But I won't completely write off what he's saying as false though. At the same time, so I feel like there is, like you said, there is some truth to what he's saying, but I don't know what's true and I don't know what's not true on what he's saying. And I just don't like how people within his circle, they're supposed to be, people that I guess love him or fuck with him, and they're putting his, this type of rant out there like that. So maybe it's because of the stuff that he might have said about white people or Jewish people or whatever. I get that, but at the same time, I don't feel like this should have been out for people like us to see.
Nah, definitely not. Cause like, yeah, that whole thing that happened last year with the anti-Semitic shit, yeah, like people haven't looked at him the same since, and people already hated him. So yeah, this shit is not helping him at all. But maybe he just doesn't care anymore. Maybe he's just at a point, just mentally, where like he's kind of checked out on all that shit. And there's perhaps a lot of shit that he does know that we don't know, and that he saw that we did not see. But the thing is, it just goes back to the whole thing of like the right message, but wrong messenger. And this is the same person who's openly admitted that he doesn't read. Like for him to say that, that's one of the things for me that made him lose credibility. That's like one of the things that made me take him less seriously with these rants.
Yeah, I get it, but again, this was not a rant that was supposed to be out there public. It's not like he did this in a public place or at a concert or during an interview. This was something that he was just talking to his team. As somebody recorded it and sold it to TMZ or whoever, and it became viral. So it's definitely some of the stuff that he said was saying is definitely controversial. But how many times are you together with your people and you might say something that may be controversial that people, like if you would have said that on the news, people wouldn't fuck with it. But you could, you say it around your family and close friends. So that's kind of like how I look at it, like that. Like, and then somebody was a snake within his crew and try to put something out there to make some money off of him because they probably didn't agree with what he's saying. I get that, but I don't know, just to expose him like that, that's just not a good look. It's not right to do shit like that.
Yeah, when you're filming something and posting it without their consent, yeah, that's not a good look. Well, even if you are a part of
Yeah,
their
it's not a
crew,
good look.
even if you are a part of their crew and a part of their team, like doing that shit without their permission and whatnot, yeah, that's not good. Especially with some shit like this, no fucking way.
And you know how the media is going to run. If they see Kanye saying anything or doing anything out of the ordinary, the blogs and the internet's going to run with it. So I don't know, man. Just wasn't a good look. And especially on top of that, it's the same day that the album was supposed to drop and it didn't come out. So it just kind of, multiplied and made it, even worse than what it was.
Didn't J. Cole kind of call Kanye out on a song once, like without really mentioning his name?
Yeah, it was called False Prophets. Yeah. Yeah, that came out a few
Damn.
years ago.
Yeah, Kanye's
Yeah, he
definitely
was going in on it.
Yeah, Kanye's definitely a musical genius. His first few albums were incredible, and still overall, like his legacy is cemented. Just his behavior and the way he goes about things and all this kind of shit, it really does tarnish his legacy in many ways. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. But maybe a few years from now, we may look back at this and say, hey, Kanye was right. Kanye knew it all along. That could possibly happen too.
Yeah, so just listen to what like I said, I'm not going to dismiss what he said. Either way, I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's wrong. Only time will tell. So we'll just wait and see. Did you see like his Northwest though? Did you see his daughter rapping?
Yeah, she was great.
I don't know who wrote it but I feel like when she gets older, I feel like she's gonna be an artist. I feel like she gravitates towards her dad more than her mom, and I feel like I don't know. She gives me she. You could tell she's definitely Kanye's daughter, and like she wants to act like him, and she wants to be around him. And yeah, I fucks with that, yo. It's dope to see that, like a father and daughter have that type of relationship. So that was dope to see. And at the same time, I kind of felt like it was Kanye coming at Drake, because remember how Drake had his son on his album? How you spit a couple bars on his album? So I feel like this is
Yeah, I
Kanye.
remember.
This is Kanye's response. Okay, he's like, "Oh, you got Adonis? Okay, let me up you one. Let me get Northwest, and let me have her come up with a song too." So that's what I kind of felt like that was as well, because I feel like over the last few years, every time Drake's something, I feel like Kanye has to do something to kind of top that or to compete with it. So I kind of felt like that's what it was as well.
Yeah, very well could have been. Who knows? They could have a song together in a couple years, 10 years from now, and also Blue Ivy could be on it too.
Yeah, that'll be weird. Blue Ivy with
They
Northwest
could-
and Adonis on the track. That'll be
yeah, it could
interesting.
happen, bro. It could happen.
I wouldn't be surprised. That'll be the next generation. Wow.
They could perform at the Grammys, at the VMAs. Yeah, that shit could go down, bro. You never know what the world's gonna be like 10 years from now.
Now we'll wait and see.
Yeah, and also speaking of the Grammys, KRS-One as well as MC Hammer were two of the rappers specifically who refused to be a part of the hip hop 50-year anniversary that the Grammys were going to be doing. And KRS-One's response for not doing it was very interesting, but one I wasn't surprised by. He talked about the fact that when they came at him to do it, he just said no, mainly for the fact that in the 50 years hip hop has been around, they never once, invited him to be a part of the Grammys or have a performance or anything along those lines. But now for the 50-year anniversary, they waited all this freaking time to finally send him an invite just to do this, just for like their own gain. So yeah, he wasn't having it. And honestly, like knowing KRS-One and knowing what he stands for, I'm not surprised that he turned it down. He's one who like very strongly stands on his principles when it comes to this stuff, who's like one of the founding fathers in a sense of hip hop. So from his perspective, I get it. I get why he wouldn't want to be a part of it. As cool as it would have been to see, as dope as it would have been to see him be a part of it, I respect his stance because let's be real, the Grammys have a long history of fucking over hip hop and like not
Definitely.
catering to hip hop like the way they should be.
I totally agree with KRS-One with this one. A lot of what he does. Yeah, because like you said, the Grammys, they never show the proper respect to hip hop. I remember when the actual awards, hip hop awards, they don't even get aired on the regular telecast. It's
Broadcast.
like you'll see it, yeah, on the regular broadcast. You see it like on the ticker on the bottom, like who won the best rap album or best rap performance. Like they don't even air it on the regular shows, and then a lot of the times they don't have like the hip hop artists that are performing. They don't even play them on the regular broadcast. So I don't blame KRS-One for feeling this way. And then also a lot of the times when people win like best rap album or best whatever, they normally, a lot of the times the Grammys don't get them right. They pick the wrong person or a person who shouldn't win. So I totally agree with KRS-One, and yeah, I stand by how he felt about it, even though they did, shouts out to the people who weren't a part of the 50th anniversary tribute to hip hop through the Grammys. But at the end of the day, I stand with KRS-One and what he says and what he stands on.
Yeah, KRS-One is like somebody who would never sell out, who would never go for that commercial bullshit and like never try to shove it down people's throats. Like he genuinely cares about like, uplifting people, educating people, and yeah, like repping the culture and being about the culture. And I will always, always show love to KRS-One for all of that. And not even just that, for him being one of the dopest MCs to ever do it. He's in my top 10. He's definitely in my top 10.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. He's definitely one of the greatest ever, and yeah, he had a big influence on the game.
And I was blessed enough to see him at an open mic in New York back in 2008. That shit was incredible. Just that whole atmosphere and that whole vibe. I'm just happy that, like, as a hip hop head, I was able to be a part of something like that.
Yeah, it's dope. It's a timeless memory for sure.
Very timeless memory. So yeah, shout out to KRS-One for standing on his principles. Also, MC Hammer, like a video started circling around the last few days of him at the ceremony, like commemorating a street named after Tupac in Oakland. He gave a little speech about like, why he hasn't been a part of the 50-year anniversary of hip hop celebration, specifically the Grammy one. And he basically said that he doesn't want to be around the fakeness. He just can't stand being around all the fakeness.
Yeah, I don't blame MC Hammer as well, because even though he did help bring hip hop to like he helped commercialize hip hop and bring it to another level where where a lot of money was involved. Like, yeah, you're right. A lot of people didn't respect him, and they kind of like downplayed his accomplishments and kind of made fun of him for what he did because of his style and losing money. And even Jay-Z said it in a bar, like he pretty much talked shit about him losing money, about losing money like Hammer did or something like that. Forgot what track it was, but yeah, he's been
It was ridiculous. It was fucking ridiculous. He said like,
yeah,
but unlike Hammer, 30 million losing 30 million wouldn't hurt me, something like that.
exactly. So yeah, I get where MC Hammer is coming from, and yeah, it does come off kind of fake. Like, yo, you guys been dissing me for my whole career, and all of a sudden it's the 50 years anniversary of hip hop, and then now you wanna show love when now my accomplishments have withstood the test of time, and he's done some things that a lot of artists haven't done during their prime. So I understand it sucks that he's not a part of it, but I understand MC Hammer's point of view, and hopefully he can put together something where we can appreciate his legacy, because he did push the culture forward, and he does mean a lot to the game, even if people acknowledge it or not.
Yeah, definitely. Can't Touch This is a fun track. I'm not saying he's the best rapper per se, but fuck it, he doesn't have to be. That track was fun. It got people to dance. It got people to be entertained. And what the fuck is wrong with that?
Yeah,
And he was doing work during that period, like that early 90s period. He was one of the hottest artists, not just in hip hop, but all of music. He had a fucking Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, he was huge at that time.
To not like honor him and to not like show love for the accomplishments he had during that period, yeah, that's some whack ass shit. And from that perspective, I get why he would also refuse to be a part of it. He even said in that speech that going to that Tupac thing was like the closest you would ever get him to do one of those things.
Yeah, it's just sad. Just sad. Like we got to do better as a culture. Like appreciating like the people who have pushed the culture forward and helped solidify where we're at now. So we can't be like it goes back to the younger artists and the older generation. Like we got to bridge the gap and we got to come together and help each other out instead of putting each other down. Because MC Hammer definitely should have been somebody should have been at one of these hip hop 50 award celebrations. He should have been at something.
He didn't want to go. That was the thing. He got invited, but he didn't want to go.
Yeah, I know he got invited, but it's just sad that just the way that he was treated over the years, like you can't blame him for not wanting to be a part of any of the the award shows or any of the shows or celebrations that have been going on. So you can't knock him for that.
Yeah, that's one thing you hear about the music industry, specifically hip hop, is that it could be very fucking phony.
Yeah, so I don't blame him.
Hell, even Jay-Z boycotted the Grammys a couple of years for the fact that they wouldn't broadcast the hip hop categories.
Yeah, a lot of people have been boycotted them. A lot of people don't show up to the Grammys because of that. And yeah, I don't like. Yeah, it is what it is. We need to, like I said before, we need to make our own. Culture needs to have our own award show. Well, we kind of do with the BET Awards and some of that, but I don't know.
Yeah, we have our own award shows. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I just feel like, but they're not really looked at as the same way as the Grammys, though. So I don't know. We need to do. We need to figure something out where people can be celebrated for for their accomplishments in the game, and it mean just as much as the Grammy.
Yeah, but just like album sales, some people put too much stock into things like the Grammys and award shows in general. I don't even like award shows like that anymore. I'll watch them here and there, but just in general, I don't really watch them like that. I get like, wanting the recognition and wanting that respect. I get that. But at the end of the day, as long as you have a great career, as long as you have a successful career where like you have a fan base that loves you, that's loyal to you, and you have music that stands the test of time, the fuck do you need a Grammy for?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just feel like some of these other platforms is not really for us. So I just would like to see a platform that's
Yeah, I get
for
it.
us, and
Yeah, I get it.
for us to appreciate ourselves and people who are push the culture forward. So that's where I'm at with that.
In other news, Meek Mill was on hand for the signing of a new bill by Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro to do reform for probation. And this new bill will have mandatory probation reviews after 2 years or half of somebody's sentence, whichever one comes first. And also will not punish people and send them back to prison for like minor parole violations, such as, missing curfew or like going out of town without permission. Like those kind of things are going to be died down. And also a lot of people are going to be pardoned and have their criminal records expunged. And Meek Mill actually was interviewed by the press for this, and he was actually in tears when they were talking to him because yeah, this really is a big thing that hits close to home for him because of his time in the system and his time being locked up. And I'm happy he was able to be a part of something where he can help out those who went through the same things that he did and make things better for them than what he had to go through. So I fucks with him and that energy, and I fucks with the Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro for signing this in, and it'll be good for a lot of people who have been suffering for years and going through the system for years to not have to go through these same struggles anymore. I fucks with
Yeah,
that.
it was definitely dope, a full circle moment for Meek Mill, and I can understand why he's emotional because I'm sure that he's been caught up in a system where like minor infractions that he might have got in trouble for caused him to go back into jail or have to do more time for something that happened like years and years ago. So I understand. This is something that he's worked hard on over the past few years, and I applaud him for putting in the work to actually get this done for Pennsylvania. And also, I know he's been working and got some other laws passed for other states as well. So shouts out to him. But yeah, it's definitely a good thing because a lot of people get caught up in the system, and these minor infractions like cause them to get stuck in the system or not allows them to move forward in their lives. Like I know people do things out of circumstance or because of where they're growing up and whatnot, and sometimes you have no other choice. And when you pay your debt to society and do the time, then you expect to have a fair chance at life. But sometimes people don't even have a chance to move forward. They keep getting brought back down from something that happened maybe 10, 15 years ago. So I'm glad that Meek Mill, put him and his team together and was able to get this done. And it shows. I know in his music that he talks about stuff like, D1 was calling him out about, but this is the other side of it where he at least is giving back to the community and trying to make things better for people who coming from his neighborhood and kind of dealing with some of the same things that he had to deal with when he was growing up. So shouts out to Meek Mill and his team for working hard and getting this passed. So definitely a great thing.
Yeah, stand-up guy using his power and using his influence to make it easier for others and make it easier for people who had to go through the same things that he went through. That's a sign of somebody who's grown up, and that's a sign of somebody who cares about giving back. And shit like this is important. Shit like this can definitely make a difference because we've watched that documentary, The 13th, about the 13th Amendment, about like the whole prison system in America. And yeah, it's some ugly ass shit, especially for minorities. It is some ugly ass shit. And yeah, being in prison for just one day would be fucking unbearable. Imagine having to be in prison for a year, 10 years, or fucking the rest of your life, especially for some bullshit crime at that too.
Yeah, like a traffic violation or missing curfew or going out of town and not reporting it, like little things like that. It's not like they committed
Weed.
another crime, like another major crime, like killed somebody or raped somebody like that. It's like a minor infraction, and they got to go back to jail for years. Like, come on, man. Like, this shows you like the system was not designed for minority people to move forward in life. Is designed to keep people where they're at and to bring them back down. So shouts out to Meek Mill for, like you said, using his power to get some of this legislation, passed so that way you can make it better for other people coming up in similar situations.
Shouts out to him for making the difference that he wanted to see in the world. And you could tell that it meant a lot to him by his reaction in the interview.
Yeah, so
Good,
it
good
was
shit.
yeah, man, because you don't want to miss time from your family, time for your kids that you'll never get that time back. They're only young for so many years, and then they grow up, and that shit happens fast. And to miss out on those important years, like yeah, just like you just can't get that time back, man. And you just appreciate the time that you do have, and yeah, hopefully this gives people who are going through similar situations a second chance at life.
Definitely. But let's get into some anniversaries real fast, as this past week marked the 31-year anniversary of Dr. Dre's The Chronic, which was his first solo album after leaving NWA and his first solo album on Death Row Records. And this is what basically put him on the map as one of the best producers and best artists in the game. And this album also featured the coming out party of Snoop Dogg, who really shined on many tracks on this album, including Nothing But a G-Thang.
Yep, yep.
And definitely, hands down, one of the most important albums of the 90s. Definitely a defining album of that early 90s West Coast era, and one that has stood the test of time, and rightfully so. So, King Khan, how does it feel to look back on this album 31 years later, considering that you remember it very fondly when it first came out?
Yeah, this album was at that time was probably the biggest album. We talked about it before. Like, ain't nothing but a G thing was one of the biggest tracks at that time, and also the video. People remember that till this day. So this kind of brings me back to that point in my life, and the West Coast was running it, and this was, like you said, the coming out party for Snoop Dogg, and there's a lot of dope tracks on this album. Other than you got a G thing, you had Dre Day where Snoop and Dre were going at Easy E, and they had like the fake Easy E in the video. So
Oh,
that was another
shit.
funny video back in that time frame. So, and I think I like Dre Day more. I don't know, Dre Day was a pretty dope track, man. I don't know. I listened to it the other day, and yeah, Dre Day is a pretty dope
Oh,
song,
Let
man.
Me Ride, too. Let Me Ride was
Oh yeah,
fire.
I was gonna get to that. Let Me Ride was kind of like the one of like the last singles off of that album, and I love that. I love that song just as the other two major singles off of that album. And there was a couple other joints that are on there that were pretty dope. Well, Bitches Ain't Shit, which was one of my joints, and then the back at that time, the Death Row and not Death Row, but Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, all their albums had skits, and they had that D's Nuts skits, which people still make fun of people to this day. You saying what's that? and they say who these nuts, and then so people that's when that started. As far as I can remember, was on this album. So definitely a classic album, was stood the test of time, and it solidified Dr. Dre. After leaving NWA and doing his own thing, this solidified him, outside of the NWA, and solidified him as a force within the culture. So definitely a classic album, and you definitely should go back and listen to it if you haven't heard it in a while.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go listen to it after we're done recording. Yeah, Dre basically had the run here that Ice Cube had a few years earlier after he left the group. It definitely made him one of those powerhouses in hip hop and probably the biggest producer in the game by that point. And yeah, there's not enough good things you could say about the album from the songs we also mentioned. So also Little Ghetto Boy. Little Ghetto Boy was also dope.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of dope tracks on there, man. So it's definitely classic. Definitely a classic. You got to have it in the collection.
Yeah, I did say in our episode a few weeks ago when we talked about Doggy Style that I like Doggy Style a little more, but this album is still fire. This album is still monumental, and I shudder to think what hip hop would have been like had this album not dropped.
Yeah, definitely put on for the West Coast, and yeah, maybe Snoop Dogg wouldn't be as big as he was without this album. So it definitely put him, made him a household name.
And Dre too. This is like a big test for Dre because after leaving NWA, yeah, the pressure was on him to really deliver, and fucking A, did he deliver, bro?
Yeah, yeah, he
Yeah.
did. Definitely did.
Yeah, what a great run that was from NWA to Ice Cube going solo to then Dre going solo and then Snoop. Yeah, what a great run that was.
Yeah, definitely. So shouts out to Dr. Dre, everybody who was a part of that album, Snoop, and everybody else. So definitely a timeless album.
Shout out to the West Coast also. And in other album anniversaries, this past week marked the 25-year anniversary of DJ Clue's The Professional. And holy shit, did he have a lot of people on this album, from DMX, Jay-Z, Missy Elliott, Flipmo Squad, Def Squad,
Nas, Big Pun, Nori, Cannabis.
Mobb Deep. The list goes on, bro. Yeah. So crazy that he got all these artists together for one project. Shouts out to him for that. And it's a good album, too. If you want to capture the whole sound of 1998 in one album, listen to this one.
Yeah, 98, one of the best years in hip hop that time. That DJ Clue album takes me back because I remember being on the basketball team in high school, and we were riding the bus to go to one of the games, and I had my CD Walkman, and I was playing the Professional album that had just came out because everybody was on this album. It's like the hottest album at that time when it dropped. And just from the intro alone, when you hear that Rough Riders Anthem remix comes on, like that's made me fuck with the Rough Riders remix more than the original Rough Riders Anthem. So DJ Clue definitely was one of the first, I would say, mixtape DJs to put together an actual compilation album that got released mainstream. And as you said, everybody who was anybody at that time was on this album. Classic freestyles. It also was the debut of Fab, or Fabulous Sport, as people would know him at that time. So it was just a dope album. It definitely solidified DJ Clue as one of the best mixtape DJs. And it led to future professional albums that came out. I think he dropped the Professional 2 and 3 with also star-studded cast, and also led to like DJ K Slay, DJ Envy, Funk Flex, and Big Cap, and other big known DJs at that time to release their own compilation albums in a similar manner. So definitely was a pioneer and set the tone for that time, and for other DJs to release similar projects. So shouts out to DJ Clue and everybody who was involved with that project, Desert Storm family and whatnot. Because it was definitely one of the best and hottest albums that came out in 1998. And as you said, it showcased the sound of 1998 and what was to come for 99. So what were your thoughts about the Professional album?
Well, it was dope. The artists he was able to get on that album, and even having Mariah Carey and Diddy on separate skits, it shows like the influence this dude had and like how many people were like down to be a part of this project. And it paid off well. It's a great hour use of your time to listen to this album. Yeah, a lot of good variety, a lot of good features. And yeah, definitely, if you haven't listened to it before, I definitely suggest to listen to it because it's just another example of how great the year 1998 was for hip-hop, specifically albums. And we are going to get into one more anniversary from that exact same day of the release of this album, we had the release of Busta Rhymes' third album, E.L.E. And I have to say, in my opinion, my favorite Busta Rhymes album from start to finish.
Damn, I was about to say the same exact thing. You beat me to it. This is by far the best Busta all around album, by far.
Peak Busta on every level. Peak songs, peak production, peak
Peak
innovation, peak
videos.
rhyme skills. Yeah, peak videos, peak rhyme skills. Yeah, he was on one on this album. He was fucking on one.
Yeah, this was definitely the greatest album that Busta put together, from the features to the videos to the singles that he put out. This album went platinum, has multiple, I think 3 Grammy nominations, which was dope. He had the song with Janet Jackson, "What's It Gonna Be," which the video was ridiculous, which we've spoken about that before in the past. But
Hype Williams
yeah,
discussion.
Hype Williams, yeah. So definitely, I would say his signature album has definitely got to be, the album just with the theme, how, a lot of things that were going on at that time, a lot of movies where it was like the end of the world, Armageddon, and he kind of played off of that with this album. It's kind of like the end of the world. So it was dope concept, and he hit the nail on the head and knocked it out the park with this album. And what were some of your favorite tracks, on this album? Because there's a long list of songs that were on here, some great features as well. So what were some of the tracks that stood out to you?
Obviously, What's It Gonna Be for one. And I have to say, one of the best rap song collaborations there's ever been.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely up there. One of the best hip hop and R&B collabs.
Yeah, with LL Cool J and Boyz II Men, and also Method Man and Mary J. Blige. Yeah, I throw this one in that mix too.
Yeah, definitely up
Yeah,
there.
they both body it. The song "This Means War" with Ozzy Osbourne, bro. He had fucking Ozzy Osbourne on his album.
Yeah, that was.
What fucking rappers had Ozzy Osbourne on their albums?
And this was before Ozzy had like a resurgence. Remember when he had that reality show
Yeah, I
and
remember.
he was doing all this and that? Yeah, I think this was before that. So this was like he was like kind of like a low key, and then this is out, and then I guess Busta kind of brought him back out because he was really very popular during the '80s. Another couple of my favorite tracks on that album were "Tear the Roof Off" was a dope one. "Party Is Going On Over Here." That beat was ridiculous. And then there was another track, that song that him and Mystical going back and forth. That was a
Yeah.
dope track. And Mystical was at his peak. That's when he was doing that fast. They were doing that fast rhyming back and forth, and just a dope track, dope album. And I can't say enough good things about this album.
Oh, give me some more too. Give me some more. You fucking
Oh
bodies
yeah,
it
give me
too.
some more too. Yeah, but that was one of the singles. But the album was so dope that I don't even put that as one of like my favorite songs on the
I
album,
get it.
because there's so many dope tracks on there.
I gotta say, Busta's on my bucket list of artists I need to see live.
Yeah, I was blessed to see him a couple times live. So definitely a great show, great performer, and you definitely get your money's worth going to see him live.
If he just did a concert performing every song from this album, I would definitely pay to see that shit. Yeah, you listen to every song on this album, you're like, damn, this dude puts on the best concert. And yeah, not enough good things to say about it. Definitely one of the defining albums of '98, one of the defining albums of hip hop, and one of the defining albums of Busta Rhymes' career. And like I said when we first started this discussion, my favorite album of
Yeah,
his.
mine
And
too.
considering how many great albums he has had, that is saying a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, a milestone, a monumental album from Busta Rhymes, and definitely solidified him as one of the greatest hip hop artists of all time.
Yeah, another album of his that was good that kind of doesn't get talked about enough is "It Ain't Safe No More."
Yeah, I was actually going through it the other day. There's a couple tracks on there. Yeah, you're right. Some songs on there.
The song "It Ain't Safe No More," that song "Ambulance," fuck.
Yeah. So Busta was dropping a lot of albums around this time. He had Anarchy, which I don't think that one. I think people forget about that one, but I remember that album. They didn't really have too many.
Yeah, it doesn't get talked about that much. Yeah, it doesn't get
Oh,
talked
there
about
was
that
another
much.
track on this album that people slept on, the Busta Bus. Remember, he had the original one on this album, and then there was a remix that I would think was on the Violator album. Yeah, that was another dope track. So yeah, shouts out to Busta, man. Definitely a timeless classic album, and yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't listened to it in a while, because this was, like you said, his best album all around.
Fuck, man, that year was ridiculous. We got to do a whole episode of the podcast just talking about the year 1998.
Yeah, 98 was, I don't know, 98, 94, 95. like those are some of the best years in hip hop, man. Like, and there's definitely it was a lot of classic albums that dropped within this year. Long list of albums.
Yeah, and we just talked about two of them. So if you haven't listened to those albums yet or haven't listened to them in years, go listen to that shit. Go listen to that shit.
Definitely.
King Khan, before we get out of here, break it down for our listeners, some of the new releases they have coming out to look forward to.
Yeah, so winding up, wrapping up the end of the year. So we got a few releases that came out this week. The first release you guys should check out is Gucci Man and BG. They dropped a collaboration album this week called Choppers and Bricks. As you know, BG was locked up for over 10 years and he just got released a couple of months ago. And he's been jumping on tracks here and there. He jumped on Kevin Gates' track. He jumped on a couple remixes and freestyles. So BG's trying to get his self out there again, and Gucci Man kind of like with a similar past, been locked up before, so I could see how they kind of connected and put together this album. So joints that I've heard from it are pretty dope, so definitely check that out. Also, Nicki Minaj did drop a couple extra songs onto her Pink Friday album. She has that Beat Beat remix with 50 Cent, which they both did their thing on that track. She also has a song with Keisha Cole and Monica. So if you're into some R&B vibes, that's another song to check out. Heading down south, heading back down south. Shouts out to Big Crit. He dropped an EP with about 4 tracks called Regardless, It's Still Timeless. Big Crit's been doing his thing for years, representing for Mississippi and for the South. So definitely check out his new project. And I believe he's dropping some new music in 2024. So be on the lookout for that. Big Crit has been around since like the blog era days when like Wiz and Currency
J.
came
Cole.
out. So J. Cole around that time. So he's definitely been doing his thing for a minute now. So definitely shouts out to him. And then also Partisan Fontaine, he dropped his sex tape project, which he goes in on, the Meg Thee Stallion drama and also some other things. He's one of the most popular ghostwriters behind the scenes, wrote a lot of tracks. So definitely, I was kind of impressed with some of the songs that I heard on this project. So that's another thing to check out. And then finally, Young M.A., you might have remember her from her song Ooh and, some of the other tracks that she's dropped over the last few years. And she's been in the news recently the last few years because of some of like the, some issues she's had health-wise and also being addicted to some substances. So seems like to me that sounds like she's gotten herself cleaned up and she's coming back out with some new music. And she has a new track called Open Scars, which is a deep personal track. And she kind of goes into what's been going on like the last few years. So it's good to see her back out and about and for her to be on a more positive path. So definitely a lot of great music coming out to wrap up the end of the year. I'm definitely looking forward to 2024 to see what the new year has in store for us and should hopefully be another great year for hip hop.
Yeah, I fucks with that. I'm going to check out some of these new releases this week, especially that Big Crit one. I've been a Big Crit fan since 2010. And also AZ is going to be on the latest episode of Drink Champs. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, I actually was watching some of it the other day. I haven't finished it because, the Drink Champs, those fucking episodes are like fucking 2 or 3 hours long. So I was kind of watching it. Yeah, I got to break it down into different bits and pieces. But yeah, definitely it's good to see AZ because he doesn't normally do a lot of interviews. And for him to be on the Drink Champs platform and him and Nori have a history together. They've done tracks together and been around, Nas as well. So it's dope to hear, some of the stories that he has because he's definitely one of the most underrated artists of in the game. So it's good to see him finally get some of his must do props and flowers.
Yeah, I'm going to check out for that, check out for some of these releases, and also go back and listen to E.L.E. and Chronic later today. But King Khan, before we get out of here, tell people how they can listen to past episodes of the podcast and also how they can follow us on social media.
Yeah, check out the previous episodes of the Shifting the Culture podcast. You can visit our website, shiftingtheculturepodcast.com. There you can learn more about myself and also Conscious Kurt and also listen to past episodes of the podcast. You can also listen to the podcast on your favorite platforms. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever all of the major platforms where you can get your podcast. And then also hit us up on social media, on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook if you have any topics or any suggestions so we can make the show even better. So just search for Shifting the Culture podcast.
Yeah, check us out, holler at us, let us know what you think. And until next time, for King Khan, this is Conscious Kurt for another edition of the Shifting the Culture podcast. Take care, have a good week, and whether you're an old school head or a new school head, always respect the fucking culture. Have a good one, guys.
Peace. Happy holidays.